गुड मॉर्निंग एवरीवन. व्हाट डू यू वांट टू डू? जो आप बोलो. क्या डिडक्शंस का चैप्टर? सो यू डोंट वांट टू स्टडी हेड्स ऑफ इनकम? एक मिनट मैं ही बोलता हूं. लेट अस फिनिश. देखो, वी कांट नाउ कीप इट पेंडिंग फॉर टू लॉन्ग. तो आई हैड रिक्वेस्टेड यू टू टेल मी विच क्वेश्चंस वी हैव कंप्लीटेड. क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 हो गया, डन है. फर्स्ट 3 क्वेश्चंस आर डन. जस्ट आई हैव डन ऐसा नहीं, यू ऑल्सो नो व्हाट वी हैव डन. ओके, चलो लेट्स गो टू क्वेश्चन नंबर 4. हैव यू डन दिस? नहीं. क्वेश्चन नंबर 4 इज ऑन पेज नंबर 10. क्या कर रहा हूं? मतलब you all want a revision, a recap of residential status? At least individual का कर लेता, because for other assessees you had to check control and management. Individual का there were 2 steps. Step number 1 में अभी देखो, see if you want recap and then you are talking to each other तो ऐसे नहीं चलेगा bro. I am talking, no, then you have to keep your mouth shut. You want revision? Individual का residential status was divided in 2 steps. Step number 1 में we were deciding whether the individual is resident or non-resident, and then step 2 में we were deciding whether the individual is ROR or NOR. Obviously step number 2 will be conducted only if step 1 का answer is resident. Obviously na. So how do you decide whether an individual is a resident? 3 conditions were given. Condition 1, your physical presence in India is 182 days or more. Exact 182 हुआ, then also you will be considered as resident. You don't have to check anything. Condition 2, during the previous year it is 60 days and last 4 years का total it is 365 days. Then you will become a resident. Between the conditions the word used is or, so you have to do any one. 182 नहीं हुआ but you do 63, 65, then you will be considered as resident. However, there were 2 cases where 63, 65 is not applicable. Condition 1, citizen of India going outside for the purpose of employment, so he will bring foreign money to India, and therefore second condition was not applicable. And crew member के लिए the CDC period, the continuous discharge services वाला contract period will not be included in stay in the number of days in India. And the second guy was citizen of India or person of Indian origin who is coming to India for the purpose of visit. So again he will bring foreign money and spend here. So again 63, 65 was not applicable. But the ones who come for visit, if their income exceeds 15 lakh, अभी ये 15 lakh में which income we will consider? Any income in India, and foreign का income only if it is controlled from India. If that total exceeds 15 lakh, so we will consider you applicable for this condition. However, in a modified version, 63, 65 will change to 120 and 365. And there was this third case where you have not come to India even for 1 day, but you are deemed to be resident. In Gen Z terms, you call it तू है, तू resident है, तुझे पता नहीं है तू है पर तू है. Deemed to be resident without coming to India. What were the 3 conditions for deemed resident? Citizen of India, that same income exceeding 15 lakh. Which income? All incomes from India and foreign income if controlled from India. मतलब only income that you have to ignore is foreign का local domestic income. And third condition was not a tax resident in any other country. So you will be considered deemed to be a resident. Correct है? Once you are a resident, we do step number 2. There are 2 conditions. You have to fulfill both, so you will become ROR. Both होगा then only ROR. Condition 1, last 10 में से 2 years you have been a resident. Minimum 2, it can be higher. So when do you become RNOR? If out of last 10, 9 में you have been non-resident, so you will become RNOR. समझ में आता? It is active voice and passive voice. If 2 out of last 10 years you are resident, तो ROR का condition is fulfilled. That means 9 out of 10 years if you are non-resident, so by default you have become RNOR. And second condition, second cumulative है. Here in step 2 the conditions are cumulative. Last 7 years में your stay in India has to be 730 days or more. Correct है? However, the 2 cases where we were forcibly making the taxpayer resident, one was that 12365 वाला case, and second was deemed resident, here we will not apply step number 2. They will always be treated as RNO. Correct? That was individual का residential status. HUF was the only assessee which also has ROR or NOR. But ROR resident के लिए you will see control and management. Wholly in India to resident, wholly outside India to non-resident, and partly in India to then again it will be a resident. And for HUF का ROR or NOR, you have to check the conditions fulfilled by the Karta. Correct? Partnership firm, AOP, AJP, उसमें there is no ordinary, not ordinary. It was only resident, non-resident, which will depend on control and management. And lastly, company का क्या rule था? Indian company always resident, and foreign company will be considered as resident if the place of effective management is in India. And then the second part was scope of total income, where resident Indian income always taxable, resident foreign income also taxable, non-resident Indian income will be taxable, but non-resident foreign income will not be taxable. And what is Indian income? Either work done in India, or money received in India, or certain incomes are deemed to be Indian income even if the activity took place outside India. We did 9 incomes in that list. Abhi clear hai? Any doubt, difficulty now? Shall we? Question number 4, page number 10. Please read the question.
Bullock, the South African cricketer, has been coming to India for 102 days every year since the last 12 years. Find out his residential status for the AY 26-27.
Required part is very clear. Acha, when we did the first question, you can check this for me, please. Did I give you the format of solving? So we will write name of the assessee, previous year, assessment year, and we will give the heading determination of residential status. Kiya tha? Kiya tha. If some people are saying kiya tha, determination of residential. Okay. Name of the assessee, Pollock, previous year 25-26, assessment year 26-27. This only makes your answer look good. And what are we supposed to do? See, whatever is the required part of the question. Required part means what? If you do this, we will give you marks. What is the required part in this question? What have they asked you to do? Find out residential status. So whatever they are asking you only will become your heading. So our heading here is going to be determination of residential status. जो भी क्वेश्चन का रिक्वायर्ड पार्ट है ना, whatever is the required part of the question should always become your heading. Not just in this chapter, but every chapter. So if question says calculate income from salary, we will give the heading calculation of income from salary. As simple as that. Whenever you are solving any question on residential status, your first job, your first task is going to be to check the stay during your applicable previous year 25-26. See, everything depends on this. 182 you have to check in this year. 60 you have to check in this year. Everything is dependent on stay during 25-26. So first task is what is the stay during 25-26. Okay. Facts of the taxpayer question will give you. Law you have to learn. Is taxpayer ka what is the fact? What is the stay in 25-26? 102 days. What are you thinking now? You know, more than what we are writing, it is important. We need to know what you are thinking. What are you thinking? 182 first condition dissatisfied. If it is dissatisfied, we go and check the second condition. 1 minute, wait. Second condition is not applicable to everyone. Correct? Hai na? So, what are you going to do? First, convince yourself, is the second condition applicable? Is it? Q? There are 2 cases where second condition is not applicable. Satisfy हो रहा है क्या नहीं हो रहा है, that I am not asking. If you fall in the exceptions, तो 63-65 apply ही नहीं होगा ना. South African cricketer, citizen of India भी नहीं है, person of Indian origin भी नहीं है, he is not falling in any of the 2 exceptions. Is condition 2 applicable? Yes, applicable है. Then we will check whether he has fulfilled. Check. Current year में 102 is that 60 days or more, and last 4 years. अभी every year if he is coming for 102 days, तो last 4 years का stay क्या होगा? Now is that 365 or more? and therefore Pollock is a resident. Do you understand how we have come to the conclusion? Hello? And now that we are done with this part, this question can't get over here. Supposingly the answer was non-resident, the question is over. But the moment answer is resident, you have to continue. Now we will have to go and check whether you are ROR or RNOR. So we will have to now do our step number 2 to determine whether you are ROR or RNOR. What will you check? Come on. Last 10 में से any 2 years you are a resident. Now think about it. If he is doing 63, 65 this year, that means he is obviously doing 63, 65 all years because 102 days every year. That means last 2 out of 10, last 10 out of 10 years, he is resident. Okay. Is he a resident in at least two out of last 10 years? Yes. Why? Because he is fulfilling the two conditions. But what is the second condition? 730 days or more during the last 7 years. Last 7 years ka iska stay, go and check. Every year 102, 714. What's your conclusion? Less than 730. Therefore resident but not ordinarily resident. Samjha? So end of the day, the question is, do we know the conditions? If we know the conditions, we will be able to solve anything and everything. Shall we go ahead? Question number 5, have we? किया है कि नहीं? नहीं? Question number 5. Please see the question.
Mr. X, an Australian citizen, purchases the following information regarding his visit to India. FY 21, 22, 55 days, 22, 23, 70 days, 23, 24, 80 days, 24, 25, 140, 25, 26, 68. Determine the residential status.
Again, question is same. Now you tell me what is the first thing that you will always check every time you do residential status? Stay during the previous year 25, 26. That is the applicable previous year for your exam. 68 days. Has he fulfilled 182 days ka condition? No. Is he fulfilling 60 days? But 60 alone is not enough. You will have to also check. Stay during last 4 years. So 1, 2, 3, 4. What is the total stay during the last 4 years? Oh, mental maths. Exam में ना 5 plus 3 is 8 or 7. You are going to confirm, no? Calculator पे. Calculator किधर है? Last 4 years का stay 345. What is your conclusion? 182 वाला condition not satisfied. 63, 65 is applicable क्या? Why applicable? Because he is not a citizen of India or a person of Indian origin, but he is not fulfilled. And obviously, deemed resident के लिए the first condition is that you have to be a citizen of India. So we can't apply that also. Income का details any which way not given. Therefore, do you understand the conclusion? The taxpayer is a non-resident. It's a solved question. A very small question. Okay. Let's go ahead. Next question number 6.
Mr. Z, a US citizen, left India after a stay of 10 years on 2nd July 2023. During the financial year 2025-26, he comes to India for 1 year on 1st September 2000.
1st November है. September, November में पूरा question will get change. मतलब everything will change. 2 months extra मतलब number of days का calculation will change. Your answer can change and you can lose your marks. 1st November.
Determine his residential status for AY 2027.
180 seconds. Solve it right now. And everyone has to do it. अरे राइटिंग में सॉल्व को क्या कर रहे हो तुम लोग? Don't read the answer. Don't do injustice to your caliber. Step number 1, you will check stay during 25, 26. See, only this will take us to the conclusion of other things. 25, 26 mein, when the year started, where was he? In India or outside India are the only two things. Outside India. He came to India for a period of 1 year during this year. कोई तो ऐसा पागल है. They say, sir, he came for 1 year, so 182 days done. Pagal, if he comes for 1 year here, his 1 year will get over somewhere in the next year. But this has to be our cutoff date. So we have to count the period from 1st November to 31st of March to determine stay during this particular year. Do you understand that? What is his stay during the year 25-26? November mein 30. Because do you also remember the incoming day and outgoing day will be counted as stay in India? Okay. December mein Jan, इसमें you will have to do this. तो बोल 28 होता है. Why? Because it is 2026. If it was 24 or 28, so you will have to take. Okay. And then that makes it 151 days. Perfect. Now what are you thinking? Condition 1, 182 days. Fulfilled or no? No. Condition 2, 63, 65. Applicable or no? Applicable. Why? US citizen hai, will not fall in the exception. Applicable. So now we have checked the current year ka stay, which is 60 days or more. We will have to go and check last 4 years. You will have to carefully observe when did he leave India. He was in India for a period of 10 years and he left India on 2nd July 2023, which is the previous year 23-24. Correct or no? Now, for us, the last 4 years, mein, first year is 24-25. Do you understand? Because 25-26 ke previous 4 years, we have to go to first year is 24-25. What is his stay during 24-25? Q. If 23-24 July he left India and he directly came in 2025, that means this financial year he hasn't come to India at all. And then if we go to the year before that, because we have to take 4 years ka total, 23-24. Please be clear in your mind. At the beginning of this year, where was he? In India. In India, because he left on 2nd of July. That means April May he was in India. May May he was in India. June May he was in India. And July May we will consider 2 days because outgoing day also will be included. So stay during 23-24. After that he directly came in 2025. 93 days. And do you realize before this last 10 years he was always in India, correct है? So what is his stay? हमको तो total 365 we want, but what is his stay? 823. What's your conclusion? Is this 365 or more? Therefore he is resident. And once he is a resident, what is our next step? ROR or RN. देखो, please understand, if last 10 years he was in India, obviously 2 out of last 10 years he was fulfilling 182 days का condition. In fact, if you clearly observe, you don't have to go further, these 2 years itself. In fact, ये 2 क्या, this also is fulfilling 63-65 का condition. So very clearly, he is a resident in, you can keep your answer short. He is a resident in 21-22 and 22-23. Very, very clearly, because both these years his stay in India is 182 days or more. Hello? And अभी कॉमन सेंस है क्या? इफ लास्ट 4 years का स्टे इन इंडिया इज 800 and तो बिफोर दैट 3 more years he was in India. We want how many days? Which I have fulfilled in 4 years itself. तो माइनस में तो नहीं होगा ना स्टे इन इंडिया, ऑब्वियसली. तो लास्ट 7 years it will be 730 days or more, and therefore the assessee is resident and ordinarily resident. Clear हुआ everyone? Sure. Fantastic. Next question number 7, please read the question.
Mr. Pan, Indian citizen, left India on 24th September 25 after qualifying Chartered Accountancy exam in Paris to work as a chief accountant. Determine his residential status as AY 2026.
Determine करो residential status. He has left India for the first time. $60 seconds. I permit you to do this on the calculator. It's a solved question. At least give me the correct answer, please. Yes या no नहीं होता है. It is resident or non-resident. Okay. Stay during 25-26 April to 24th September. 24th September will also be included. So what is that stay from April till this day? 170, 77, 182 not fulfilled, but 63-65 हुआ है ना. But he has left India for the purpose of employment. Citizen of India leaving India for the purpose of employment. 63-65 is not applicable and 182 is not fulfilled as a consequence. And देखो, unless and until they give you data about incomes and they give you data about not being a tax resident in any other country, do not bring the concept of deemed resident unless and until there is some specific data related to it. So accordingly, your conclusion is that Mr. Fan is going to be a non-resident. समझा? Okay. Question number 8 जो है, and wait. Okay, only 8 for now is something that you have to करते हो क्या नहीं? If some teacher gives you homework, तो you all do or you all don't? नहीं, मतलब पूछ लेता हूँ. Time has come कि I have to take your permission to give your homework. Do? तो question number 8. Please write HW. और सुनो, if I give homework, मतलब I will check also. You all know I come before time. वो क्लास में घुसने के पहले you will have to show your homework. नहीं तो punishment भी विशेष सर वाले देने. वो तो happily you will do also. नहीं, वैसा नहीं होगा. Okay? तो सुनो, please make sure only 1 or 2 questions I will give you, not more than that. क्वेश्चन नंबर 9 we did क्या? I think we did one of the questions on scope of total income. किया ना? Okay. I think we must have solved it fully यहाँ पे in the table itself. Okay. नहीं किया था. But ठीक है, तो if it was a different question कैसे? अच्छा, we must have done from that other pre-result वाला book. तो ये वाला क्वेश्चन नहीं किया था. तो फिर एक और होमवर्क. See, you have to solve all these questions. At least this much you will have to do. Okay. Supposingly you are having difficulties because see, end of the day क्या होता है कि at least something you have to be able to do on by yourself. Then only you will get the confidence. So please make sure you solve this as well. Okay. 8 and 9. In fact, you can solve it here only. Question number 10 is on page number, this I have not done, I am sure. Page number 17. Please read the question.
The business of a HUF is transacted from USA and all the policy decisions are taken there. Mr. F, the Karta of HUF, who was born in Kolkata, visits India during the PY 25-26 after 15 years. He comes to India on 1st April 2025 and
1st December 20. My bad, sorry.
On 1st April 25 and leaves for USA on 1st December 25. Determine the residential status of Mr. F and the HUF for EY 26-27.
So no, there are two different assessees, HUF and Karta, separate residential status. Karta is individual, individual का residential status का good enough question we have solved. कर्ता का क्वेश्चन मतलब मिस्टर एफ का रेसिडेंशियल स्टेटस यू सॉल्व, देन एचयूएफ का वी विल डिस्कस टुगेदर. What is the stay during 25-26? 240? 245. 245 days. 1st April to 1st December also you have to include. With 245, what conclusion do you come to? He is a resident. That is clear. But then he has come to India first time after a period of 15 years. मतलब last 7 years का 730 or 2 out of last 10 years is not fulfilling anything. What is your conclusion about Mr. F therefore? Mr. F, ladies and gentlemen, therefore will become R but NOR. And what about the HUF? For HUF, we cannot check physical presence. In fact, other than individual, for any taxpayer, we cannot check physical presence. So what are we going to check? Nahin. For step number 1, we will not check Karta. That is for ROR or NOR. For step number 1, we will see control and management. Wholly in India, to wholly outside India, and partly in India, partly outside India. Even if one decision is taken in India, and here the HUF decisions were fully taken from outside India. Consequently, the HUF is a non-resident. Hello. Now we will go and check step number 2, ordinary, not ordinary. No. Step number 2 will be done only and only if answer to step 1 is resident. Correct hai? Question 11. Company ka residential status also we have studied. Okay. Question 11, please.
Foreign company having head office in Chicago has established a liaison office in Mumbai. The entity does not have a permanent establishment in India. The significant management and commercial decisions are in substance made at Chicago in its board meeting, but all the routine decisions of day-to-day affairs of the said office is in India. The company is a resident in India. Do you agree?
Is the company resident in India? उसके लिए you will have to recollect what is the rule for companies as far as residential status is concerned. Indian company, always resident. But in case of a foreign company, देखो, supposingly I remove this, and make it, you should understand other things also. एक है the question which we have in our book, and one, if this question by chance is modified by ICAI, you should be able to answer that also. अगर ये question change हो गया and they write Indian company here, then what's your answer? Without checking anything given here, the answer will be. But the moment this question is that of a foreign company, what do you have to check? Place of effective management. Effective management matlab major decision. I must have told you that there is a poem ka circular which comes in CA final. In intermediate, the question will be like this, where very clearly in the question they will tell you major decisions were taken where? Chicago, and only routine decisions were taken in India. So finally the company is resident ke non-resident. Non-resident, only if substantial decisions are taken in India, we will consider it resident. Correct? And as far as companies, firms, AOPs, LLPs, AJPs are concerned, there is no further classification into ROR or NOR. That is only in case of individual and HUF. When it comes to question number 12, please have the discipline. जो right side का column है ना, this column, cover it up, because this is the answer. Cover करके, to do justice to yourself, please cover it. यहाँ पे book में cover करके, now don't read it on the screen. I'll keep it open and I trust you. Please, right side का column is the answer. Read the left column only. Question पढ़ना चालू करो. Bro.
Received rupees 20 lakhs from a Korean company, Taxation Limited, entered into the following transaction during the financial year 25-26. Explain briefly whether the item is taxable in India. Aim, received rupees 20 lakhs from a non-resident for use of patent for a business in India.
First of all, understand that the taxpayer is a non-resident. If the taxpayer is a resident, we don't waste our time. Everything is taxable. Non-resident hai, so we will have to decide whether it is taxable or no, which will depend on whether it is Indian income or foreign income. How can an income become Indian income? Either money received in India, or work done in India, or income deemed to be Indian income. In the list of incomes deemed to be Indian income, we had done those last three incomes: interest, royalty, and fees for technical services. If it is paid by government, it will always be deemed to be Indian income. If it is paid by a resident, it will be deemed to be Indian income unless used outside India. And if it is paid by non-resident, it will not be deemed to be Indian income unless it is used in India. If used in India, it will be considered as Indian income. Do you remember studying that rule? So now observe, examine, and take a decision. Is this Indian income? Because you deciding Indian income or foreign income will decide the taxability of this income. Is this Indian income? Kyun? Because it is going to be used for a business in India, and if used for a business in India, it is Indian income and taxable even if you are a non-resident. Second,
received rupees 15 lakhs from a non-resident Indian for use of know-how for a business in Sri Lanka, and this amount was received in Japan. Assume that the above amount is converted stated in Indian.
Non-resident to non-resident, payment outside India, used outside India. That means this is Indian income ke foreign income, and therefore for the non-resident it is not taxable. Third,
received rupees 7 lakhs from RR company, an Indian company, for providing technical know-how in India.
In India, therefore it will be Indian income, therefore it will be taxable. And fourth,
received rupees 5 lakhs from our company, Mumbai, for conducting the feasibility study for a study project in Nepal, and the payment was made in Nepal.
Payer is resident. Payer is resident. Indian income ke foreign income. Payer is resident. Indian income ke foreign income. Come on. Payment outside India. Work done is not there because this is fees for technical services. FTS, when paid by a resident, is deemed to be Indian income except if it is used outside India, and in this case the services were used outside India, payment was done outside India, therefore Indian income became foreign income. Aapka pehla answer right, but then the moment I made an expression, you can't change your answer. You need to have confidence that sir, nahi, I am only right. Were you right? Is everyone right? Nothing has happened in India, and therefore foreign income cannot be taxable for non-residents. Clear hai? Okay. 13.
Mr. X paid a sum of $5,000 to Mr. Y, a non-resident, a management consultant practicing in USA, specializing in project financing. The payment was made in USA. The consultancy is related to a project in India. Is this payment chargeable to tax in India in hands of Mr. Y since the service were used in India?
If Mr. Y was resident, no, so we wouldn't have had the discussion. But he is a non-resident, so we will have to discuss whether it is Indian income ke foreign income. Payment was made in USA. Again, if payment is made in India, we don't waste our time. Now you have to decide, is this Indian income? Again, you will have to go to the definition of deemed to be Indian income. In deemed to be Indian income, if the services are used in India, then the income will be considered as Indian income, and even if you are a non-resident, it is going to be taxable. Clear hai? So, question number 14 is also a very simple question on residential status of individual on the basis of number of days you have to determine. So this will be your third and I think the second last question. Only one more question I will give you as homework. Question number 14. Okay, so 8, 9 and 14. I hope you are noting it. Question 15.
Mr. X, an Indian citizen, resides in USA but comes to visit India during the previous year 25-26 on 1st November 25 and leaves India on 5th March 26. During his stay in India, he earned the following incomes: dividend from US-based company 50,000, interest from government of Indian bonds, the proceeds of which were used by government 2 lakh for a project in Bhutan. Agriculture income from India 2,000, short-term capital gains on sale of share of Indian company 6 lakh. Or the shares were sold in USA. Compute the total income, assuming all the payments were directly credited to his bank account in USA.
Money is received outside India. So we have to be sure whether the income is Indian income or foreign income. Lekin ruko, by chance the taxpayer is resident. So we are not interested in whether it is Indian income or foreign income. Because then everything is taxable. Except of course this. You know the reason. Good thing is that we have finished that chapter before completing these questions. So you know that this will not be included, but the other incomes will be included. But that is only if he is resident. They have this time not given you directly the residential status of the taxpayer. They have given you his stay in India. What do you think will be the first thing that you need to do to decide? To decide whether he is resident or non-resident. Decide karo. You've been given number of days. He comes to India on 1st November. Leaves India on 5th of March. Both dates will be included. 1st November to 5th of March. What is his aggregate stay in India during 25-26? 120. ऐसे directly don't say 99999. 125. Once you compute, then you start your analysis. He is not fulfilling 182 days का condition. Correct है? Second, is 6365 applicable? No. Why? Citizen of India who has come to India for a visit. Wait, you can't stop there. Those who come for a visit will still be covered in 12365 days if their income exceeds 15 lakh. But then of course, in that we don't have to take all your incomes. We have to take only which incomes? Indian incomes and income from foreign sources if they have been controlled from India. वैसे, to be very honest, either you take total also, it is not exceeding 15 lakh. But let's be clear, 15 lakh के limit के लिए which incomes you will include? Dividend from US based company. You will not be taking this because this is foreign domestic income. Second, interest from government of India bonds. Yes, you will be taking this. Agriculture income is not included in income. It would have been considered as an Indian income, but it is an exempt income, so we don't have to include this. And what about sale of shares of Indian company? Yes. So what is his total that we have to check for the purpose of 120 days? 8 lakhs. If this was 18 lakhs, so we would have made him resident. But this is only 8 lakh. Therefore, 120 also not fulfilled. Matlab 182 not fulfilled. 60 not applicable because visitor. 120 applicable but dissatisfied because income is not exceeding 15 lakh. And deemed resident also cannot apply. No? Because deemed resident 15 lakh also same two incomes we will check. Hello. That means what's your conclusion? He is a non-resident, and because he is a non-resident, now you will have to decide which of these incomes are taxable. Income number one, 50,000 rupees. Foreign income, not taxable. Cancel. Solved question, and therefore I am doing it like this. Government of India bonds ka interest, taxable, because even if you are a non-resident, it is Indian income, it will be taxable. Third, agriculture income in India, as per scope of total income, it should be included, but then separately in section 10, it has been declared as exempt income, so this also will be removed. And lastly, sale of Indian company ka shares ka capital gains. Payment was received in USA, but income from asset located in India will be deemed to be Indian income. Correct hai? Accordingly, your taxable income will be 2 plus 6, 8 lakh. Clear hua? Okay. As far as question number 16 is concerned, you won't be able to solve this question now, only and only after you have knowledge of the chapter income from salary. There are a couple of adjustments here from the chapter income from salary, without which you won't be able to do this. So this is not even your homework. Right now, you don't have to do this. Okay. And as I told you, one last question that I will give you as homework. So the 4 questions that you have to do are 8, 9, 14 and 14 tha na, third one, and 17. Only 4 questions. Question number 17 is basically wo scope of total income ka, which we have to solve columnar basis. Question number 18, while it is individual ka residential status and we have done a good number of questions so far, this is still slightly complicated, and therefore I want to do this with you. Question number 18, please.
During the last 4 preceding financial year 25, during the last 4 years preceding the financial year 25-26, Mr. Damodar, a senior citizen of India, was present in India for 430 days. During the last 7 previous years preceding the previous year 25-26, he was present in India for 830 days. Mr. Damodar is a member of crew of a Dubai-bound retail ship carrying passengers in the international waters, which left Kochi port in Kerala on 12th August 2025. Following details are made available to you for the PY 25-26. Date entered into the continuous discharge certificate in respect of joining the ship by Mr. Damodar, 12th August 25. Date entered the continuous discharge certificate in respect of signing off the ship by Mr. Damodar, 21st January 26. In May 25, he had gone out of India to Singapore and Malaysia on a private tour for a continuous period of 29 days. You are required to determine the residential status of Mr. Damodar for the PY 25.
So end of the day, it is still a question on individual ka residential status, but under individual residential status, which complicated part are they testing you on? The crew member. Do you remember some specific rule with respect to crew members' residential status? The period of CDC, that is continuous discharge certificate, where he will give services to the ship without taking any leave, will be excluded from stay in India. Even if the ship has come before time, this period will be excluded from stay in India. Yaad aaya CDC period? Matlab, when we are counting his number of days during the year, we have to exclude 2 periods. One, the CDC period from 12th August to 21st January. Even if you have come back, we don't have to cover it, or we don't have to include it. And second, he had gone out for 29 days. So if he has gone out, that period will also be excluded. Now there are 2 ways in which you can solve this question. One, start from April, go to April, May, June, July, take full April, but May you will take only 2 days. Q? 29 we have to exclude. Go to June, July, August you will take till 11 and continue from January. That's one option. Or option 2, take 365 total, minus 29 and minus CDC ka days. You can do the inclusive calculation, or you can do the total minus the excluded days. Whichever way you do, your number of days have to be same. Let me do one of the ways. Question number 18. When we are determining residential status of this taxpayer, we will start from April. April ka number of days 30. May ka number of days will be 31 minus 29, because 29 days he was out of India. June May full month, and July also full month. But be careful about August. August ka number of days will be how many? Only 11, because 12th August se we have commenced the CDC and that period has to be excluded from stay in India. Correct hai? And after August, where will you go directly? Directly we go to Jan, because August to 21st of January CDC is going on. Here kindly do not make the mistake. 21st Jan hai na CDC. How many days to take in Jan? Be careful. This is probably the only place where you will go wrong. 10 k 11. 21 days tak CDC is going on. So those 21 days will be excluded. उसके लिए you should also know what total number of days of January. वो भी मालूम हो. 31 minus 21, that is 10. थोड़ा सा कम करना. Feb and March, of course. His total stay in India is 170. 173 days. That means he has not fulfilled 182 days. Has he fulfilled 60 days ka condition? Come on. And last 4 years ka data is given. What is his stay during last 4 years? 430. So 60 fulfilled, 365 fulfilled. Therefore he is popat. 63, 65 not applicable. This is where we studied about the crew member. 182 not fulfilled, 63, 65 not applicable. Therefore non-resident. Therefore non-resident. Bro, समझा क्या? This question has been asked in CA final also. Because if you understand the framing and drafting of the question, they are purposely trying to confuse you by giving stay of last 4 years, by giving stay of last 7 years. They purposely want you to fall in that trap. Or sir, 182 nahi hua, but 60 is done, and last 4 years ka 430 very clearly is given in the question. So you will fall in that trap, 63, 65, and end up saying assessee is resident. The level of alertness required here is 63, 65 is not applicable because crew members are immune from that condition. Correct hai? And last question, ladies and gentlemen, question number 19, please.
AC Limited, a foreign company incorporated in USA and engaged in the manufacturing and distribution of diamonds, set up a branch in India in June 2022. The branch office was set up only to purchase uncut and unassorted diamonds from the dealers of Mumbai and export them to US. During the PY 25-26, profit from such export amounted to 75 lakhs. Out of 20 shareholders of Daisy Limited, 12 shareholders are non-resident in India. All the major decisions were taken through BOD meetings held in US. Determine the residential status of Daisy Limited for the AY 26-27. Discuss the tax treatment of profit from export business.
Daisy Limited is a foreign company. So first we will have to determine residential status of a foreign company. What is the rule for foreign companies? Major decisions, place of effective management. Where was that done? USA. Therefore, Daisy Limited is a non-resident. Take second. Supposingly I change this question and make Daisy Limited an Indian company and still keep the second thing in the question. All decisions were taken outside India. Board meetings in USA. All decisions outside India. Still resident because Indian company always resident. And once resident, tax treatment of 75 lakh also is clear. And though we don't have to check only anything. Everything is taxable. But here the company is a foreign company. And thus residential status will depend on place of effective management. Where was that? Outside India. Therefore the company is a non-resident. And because it is non-resident, it is important for us to now decide whether this 75 lakh is Indian income के foreign income, because if it is Indian income, it will still be taxable even if you are a non-resident. Indian के foreign, क्यों? Now this depends on एकदम detail में, if you remember the things that we have studied. It depends on whether you have gone through everything. We had studied incomes deemed to be Indian incomes, in which we wrote a point: if there is a business which is set up in India, so it will be deemed to be Indian income. However, if the activity is only confined to purchases or collection of data or news, so that will not amount to a business set up in India, and such activities ka income will not be deemed to be Indian income. So it is, you remember that, therefore you give the correct answer. If you know ka classic case. याद आया? Confined to purchases, therefore it will not be considered as Indian income. Well, that, ladies and gentlemen, were the questions of your second chapter. In any case, if you have any difficulty in the, देखो, if you will solve, finish your homework and come and discuss with me, so you will be able to do justice to yourself. If you have any difficulty, you may kindly let me know. We will be discussing the homework wala part in tomorrow's class. For now, ladies and gentlemen, we are now done with our first three chapters: basic concepts, residential status, and exempt income, that is incomes not forming a part of total income. 9 chapters are a part of calculation of NTTI. Out of 9, we are done with 1. Which one? Exempt income. Now we have to go to incomes which are taxable, and taxable incomes, as you are aware, have been divided into 5 heads. First head of income in income tax law: income from salary. Second head of income: income from house property. Third, profits and gains of business or profession, capital gains, and income from other sources. One by one, we have to learn the 5 heads of income. My lectures are going to be every day till the end of your syllabus now. We will be done with your direct tax ka syllabus by the last week of November mostly. It is the biggest subject in terms of size. Don't go by number of marks. So we still have what, roughly 1.5 months. Usme almost 1 month will be consumed, taken only and only to learn the 5 heads of income. Business profession, capital gain will take roughly 7 to 8 lectures. Hours nahi, lectures. Salary is slightly smaller. When I say slightly smaller, matlab 6-7 lectures that will also take. House property and IFOS are small. They are like about 2.5 lectures each. But effectively, you can count that almost a month will be consumed only to learn this. Business profession, capital gain together will comprise of about 20 to 25 marks in your exam. Usme bhi as per paper pattern business profession ka to guaranteed question of 15 marks comes. So this, ladies and gentlemen, accordingly becomes the most important part of your syllabus of direct tax. You have to take this part more seriously than anything else. That does not mean कि sir ठीक है तो other chapters we can skip or not do, ऐसा नहीं है. But this you have to give more respect than everything else. One by one we have to do the 5 heads. Which is the first head of income in income tax law? Salary. But because of the size of salary, this is that one place where I will jump the order. I will change the order of chapters. House property is a small chapter. House property is an easy chapter. If you do house property and you are able to solve questions on income from house property very easily, you will start getting that confidence कि हाँ sir, heads of income भी जम रहा है. I am comfortable. I think I can manage this subject really well. For developing that comfort, there are only 2 places where I will change the order of your chapters. One is here, and one towards the end there is a chapter called TDS, which I will do before some other chapter, advanced tax. जो करना होगा that I will take a call at that time. But here we are going to be starting with the second head of income in income tax law before doing the first head, that is income from house property. Small chapter, easy chapter, will get over very fast. Income from house property, IFHP. a special head of income to tax rentals from properties. Whenever you have invested in properties, you will be earning rent. Income from property will be in the form of rent only. No? You are the owner of a property, someone else is using your property. The user of property will pay the owner what income? Income in the form of rent. Correct? Hai? Now, at the beginning of the chapter itself, there is a game. ब्रैकेट में लिख दिया रेंटल्स, ब्रैकेट क्लोज किया. I haven't closed the bracket because name of the chapter is what? Income from house property, house property, house property, house property. And when you start reading the chapter in the Income Tax Act, they in the very first line say rental income from property of any kind, whether the property is residential or commercial. Rental income from property of any kind, whether residential or non-residential, commercial properties also will be taxed year on. And this is why this becomes a very, very big source in our country, because now if we talk about rented homes as well as offices, the more than 90% cases you will find that either it is a rented home or a rented office. It's a very big source and it cannot therefore be kept like other sources. There is a separate head of income to tax rental income. So be clear at the beginning itself. Name of the chapter is house property, but then rental from which property will be taxed? Residential ki commercial? Both. For this there is a charging section, section 22. Now you are already aware of one charging section of income tax law, section 4. That is the governing section. But then all the individual heads of income also have a charging section. What is the role of this charging section? Section 22 is the charging section of house property. This says, bro, do you have rental income? Then pay tax as per the calculation that we are giving you here. It is this section that will trigger the chapter income from house property. So the main charging section 4 triggers Income Tax Act, and individual heads also have charging section. If you have rental income, this chapter will get activated as per section 22. All the 5 heads have their individual charging section also. वैसे only in the last class I told you it is okay to not memorize section numbers. Not writing is okay, but wrong writing is not okay. But every rule has an exception. All the 5 heads ka charging section you should know. Because if you don't know charging section, even if you know the entire chapter, no, people will feel that you don't know anything. And I am giving you charging section of all the 5 heads right now. It is my humble request, learn these 5 sections today itself. In fact, right now, house property ka kya hai? 22. Charging section of salary is 15. It has to be before house property, no, because that is the first head of income. We are jumping the order. Charging section of PGBP is 28. Capital gain ka charging section is 45. And IFOS ka charging section is 56. The charging section 4 triggers income tax law, and the individual heads ka calculation are given in their individual charging sections. Salary ka 15, house property 22, business profession 28, capital gain 45, and other sources 56. Take a minute and try to learn it here itself. It is very, very important that you know the charging section. This will decide whether you know the things or not. Even if you know everything inside, you don't know anything if you don't know the charging section. Shall we? So bolo, business profession 20, salary, other sources 36, 56, house property, capital gains. That is the charging section of the individual heads. It is this charging section that will trigger the individual head. So house property is what we will focus on right now. Charging section of house property. The more you participate, the more effective we will be here. House property ka charging section 22. You will pay tax on rental income here. Rental income from residential property or commercial property? Both. But before we start learning the calculation, there are some introductory points about income from house property that you should be aware. Very first point of the chapter is, when will an income be considered or declared as income from house property? Three conditions will trigger income from house property. So under point 1, observe karo ek baar, we will be writing condition A, plus sign, plus means and, means cumulative condition. There is condition B, and then there is a third condition. When all the three conditions are fulfilled, the rental income that you earn will be considered as income from house property. When any one of the three conditions is dissatisfied, so that income will not be considered as house property. So to tax your income under section 22, that is the charging section of house property, you will have to fulfill three conditions one by one. Condition 1, the rent that you are earning should be from an asset called building. House property ka chapter will only cover rental income earned from an asset, that is building. See, rent you can earn from anything. You can get rental income from plant and machinery. Do you know you can give machinery on rent and make money out of it? You can earn rental income on furniture. Can we give furniture on rent? वो छोड़ो, you can have something called, and this may be a little confusing. See, you have the common sense to understand house property bola, so plant and machinery and furniture can't come here. But when they say property, if there is any open or vacant plot, only land given on rent, all this will not be considered as income from house property. Income from house property will arise only and only if the asset is building. Even if you give a land on rent, you consider that as property. It is not income from house property. Income from house property ka first condition is the rent should come not from any other asset but only and only from building. So if you have this anxiety that sir, so फिर land का rent will go in which head of income, because ultimately we have to pay tax on that also. Yeah, if I am getting plant and machinery ka rent or furniture ka rent, it will go in which head of income? To be honest, it is none of our business right now. But if you are anxious, suno, obviously these other assets ka rent cannot be salary, and obviously it cannot be capital gains. Ye obvious hai. What are we left with? Business profession and other sources. If letting out these assets is my everyday activity and I do it as a regular activity, then it will be considered as PGBP. And if I have done a one-off transaction once in a while, an irregular transaction, so it will be called income from other sources. It is only to take care of your anxiety. Honestly speaking, right now we are only bothered about it is not income from house property. It won't come here. Where it will go? We have to study the other 4 chapters also. It will not come under income from house property. For an income to be taxable under house property, the asset has to be a building. But a couple of clarifications that will answer the doubts that you have. Your expressions are telling me, sir, doubts hai. I will cater to them. Don't worry. First, already clarified whether the building is residential or commercial, because only the name of the chapter is house property. Inside the chapter they have said properties of all kinds, whether residential or commercial. Ye clear hai? Second, a very important point, especially for those of us who are living in the city of Mumbai. You know, rest of India, and rest of India matlab including a city called Navi Mumbai in the outskirts of Mumbai, there is something called a bungalow system. So there is a ground plus 1 or ground plus 2 story structure where one person owns the entire structure and you give that entire bungalow on rent and you are earning rent from this thing called building, whether residential or commercial. But then in Mumbai city and most other cities also, we also have something called flat system, where there is one full superstructure, one building, but there are multiple small units inside the building. Yes or no? Very rarely you will find that one person owns the entire structure in the flat system. So we clarify here that when I am owning one unit, obviously I can't let out the entire building. I will give on rent only that one unit. It is okay whether it is full building or part. And part of a building ko in taxation language, listen to this carefully, they call it one unit in a building. In fact, developers also, when they sell their projects, they say this, there are 4 units on this floor or 6 units on this floor. The different houses on one floor are called units of that building. Yeah, on our floor, if we have 10 offices, we can say we have 10 units on this floor. So obviously you will own only one of them. You can't rent all of them. You can own the full building, the bungalow system also, or you can own part of a building, that is unit. But as long as there is a structure, only an open land is not going to be covered. As long as there is a structure, the rent will come. Samjha? So, first condition to tax an income under house property, there has to be rent earned on building. Full or part? Both. Residential or commercial? Both. And they continue by saying, with building, we will include any land which is appurtenant. English. Appurtenant? Bolo? Oh, sobo kids. Land appurtenant? नहीं? ठीक है. Forming part of building. Not comfortable? एक मिनट. Something as good as your small compound. There is a small piece of land. You enter that piece of land and then the entry to the building comes. Can we lock the main entry where we can lock that parcel of the land also and prohibit people from entering that much portion of the land, like a society compound? Does that land belong to the building? Supposingly bungalow hai, so bungalow mein there is a main gate here, there is this open land where cars are parked and the building is only in this much area. Can we lock this main gate here and prohibit entries of people? So this land is a part of this bungalow, this plot. So if we will give on rent, we will give the entire structure on rent, no? Including that parking space. It is still going to be considered as building because this land is forming a part of the building. By the way, this land outside the bungalow is also attached to the bungalow, but we can't lock this land. This is a public road. We can't even give it on rent. We are not talking about this land. We are only talking about that small land ka parcel which is attached with the bungalow and also part of the bungalow ka ownership. So when we will give the entire structure, obviously the parking space also has to be given. So the tenant is going to pay us lump sum rent of the total area. That will be considered as income from house property. Clear hua? Because, एक second. Supposingly, if it was only a piece of land here without any construction, then it will not come under building. Matlab, having a building, having a structure is mandatory. With that building, if you have a land, small parcel where you can park cars, etc. So fine. Nahi hai to no problem. But only land will not be covered. Land plus building, no problem. But building is mandatory. And therefore, in the condition, we are only saying there has to be a building. First condition to tax an income under house property, there has to be a building. Residential ke commercial, both. Full or part, both. With building, if there is land, is that okay? But only land is not okay. Clear? And every time we revise house property ka chapter, and I ask you to repeat the conditions, you don't have to repeat everything written. You just have to say one word. Kya? Building. Of course, you have to say the second condition also gradually as we did. Second condition, to tax an income under income from house property. And मतलब plus मतलब cumulative condition. The assessee मतलब the person who is receiving the rent, for whom we are deciding whether the income is house property or business or other sources. The assessee has to be owner of the building. Income will be considered as income from house property only if you are the owner of that place. Place matlab it has to be a building from which rent is coming. Understanding the condition is not difficult. Okay, understood. My income is income from house property only if I am the owner. You should counter this condition with a doubt. Puch? Nahi, so I am still the owner. I am the owner. I am taking rent from my family member. So there is a building and I am the owner. तो प्रॉब्लम नहीं है ना.
जो रेंट पे कर रहा है वो मेरे को पे नहीं करेगा, मेरे किसी और फैमिली को पे करेगा, उसका इनकम आएगा नहीं, because that's not the owner. I am the owner.
तो उसको क्यों पे कर रहा है? क्वेश्चन इज दैट ओनली नो. जिसको रेंट दे रहे हैं वो खुद रेंट दे रहे हैं. What is that transaction called? Have you come across that term anywhere? Where did you learn this? नहीं, ऐसे किसी के मुंह से सुन. What's your name? Suhani. You have heard of subletting or no? Point इतना ही. You क्योंकि the question is this, सुनो. Sir, you are saying I have to be the owner. But sir, if I am the owner, then only I will get the rent. No? Do you get rent of things that you don't own? Think about it. Sir, ये क्या stupid condition है? You are saying the person getting rent should be the owner. तो वो तो obvious है ना? How can someone pay me rent if I am not the owner? Rent तो owner को ही जाएगा. No sir, there is a case where rent can go to someone else also. Let us try to understand वो कौन सा case है. Shall we? Mr. X is the owner of a property. Building है. Building है. He has given this property on rent to Mr. Y. Can we call Mr. Y the tenant? Is Mr. Y going to pay rent to Mr. X? Look at this transaction from X POV. Is there a building? Building है. नहीं तो again you will question, sir, which asset was given? Building. And is Mr. X the owner? Therefore, assuming the third condition is also satisfied, एक और condition है. Otherwise you will again ask, sir, assuming that is satisfied, is that income from house property? But after taking this property, Y is finding it difficult to now pay the rentals. Y is like, sir, I am not comfortable. This is too big. So Mr. X की permission से, this is only possible if the owner has permitted. Only and only if the owner is permitted. Almost every rental agreement, leave and license agreement, it is a clear clause that the person who has taken on rent has to use it for himself only. But if Mr. X permits, Y can actually further let out, and this transaction, ladies and gentlemen, is called subletting. Y has sublet his property to a third person, Z. We will call this guy the subtenant. And do you understand? This guy will pay rent to the tenant. Matlab, tenant pays rent to the owner and a subtenant pays rent to the tenant. Correct? Let's now talk about the transaction from Y POV. Is there a building let out? Building to hai, but is Y the receiver of rent the owner? Nahi. So this is not income from house property, because here is the second condition. Assessee has to be the owner. There has to be a building and you have to be the owner. Of course, now again you will have anxiety. Sir, is Y getting rent? Is he getting income? If you get income, you have to pay tax. Sir, where will it go? Sir, see, dekho, that is none of our business, right? But if you are too anxious and not able to control yourself, sir, kahan jayega? Sir, please tell me. तो सुनो, this will be considered as income from other sources. House property में the income can come only if you are the owner. If you are not the owner, it will go under income from other sources. Subletting का income will go under income from other sources. One day when we do income from other sources, we will say subletting is IFO. We are not even interested in that. Right now, we have to only say it is not income from house property, because house property के लिए the receiver has to be the owner. Condition 1, building. Condition 2, one word only, owner. Every time we try to do a revision or recap of the chapter, you will have to give quick answers. Building, owner. Third condition also, of course, correct hai? But unfortunately, second condition is not yet over. Condition is clear. First condition, only building, no other asset. With building, if there is land, no problem, but only land not covered. Building can be residential or commercial, building can be full or part, but the person getting the rent should be the owner. Subletting is not going to be covered. Now they say the word owner here will include something called a deemed owner. Owner के definition में we will include someone called a deemed owner. Deemed word का meaning I must have taught you. Deemed incomes के वक्त, deemed Indian incomes के वक्त, deemed resident के वक्त. What is the most appropriate word which can serve as a replacement of the word deem if we want to keep it simple? Assume, presume तो है, but that's not the most appropriate word. I must have told you. Consider. The property is registered in the name of someone else. So can I say that someone else is the legal owner? But income tax will treat you as the owner. That is called deemed owner. Considered, assumed to be the owner, presumed to be the owner. या जेंसी लैंग्वेज में तू ओनर है, तुझे पता नहीं है तू है, पर तू है. This you all have seen. You are the owner. Even if the property is registered in someone else's name, they are going to consider you as the owner. And listen to the effect of this. If you are considered as the owner, matlab you will pay tax on income from house property, because house property is taxable in the hands of the owner, and they are considering you as the owner. Income tax में ऐसे 5 cases दिए where property is registered in someone else's name, but you will be considered as the owner. So assessee has to be the owner, which can be legal owner or deemed owner. And there are 5 cases of deemed owner given here. So we can't go to the third condition now. What do we need to do first? What are those 5 cases? Things are going to be very chaotic now. Okay? We will be doing 1, 2. By the end of the third or fourth point, you will be in some lost world. Because all the points are big. So just to let you know, after the 5th point, we will have to again write the word and go to third condition, because there are 5 sub points in condition B. And this is just the beginning for those getting frustrated. ये तो you have got no idea आगे सैलरी में, पीजीबीपी में, कैपिटल गेन में किस लेवल पे all this is going to take place. Okay, keep your patience, because you don't have any other option. So one by one we will do the 5 cases of assessee being deemed owner. After the first case, I will give you your that one thing, main important thing of life that you are waiting for. But let us complete. देखो सिस्टम के साथ में we will move. No, तो 1.5 hour होने के बाद में we will take that. Okay. First case. बस mentally be clear. When I am doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of which list? Deemed to be owner. Any asset that you have transferred to your spouse or minor child. Any asset transferred to spouse or minor child, of course. मतलब out of love and affection you transfer your property to your neighbor's wife, that is your choice. लेकिन deemed owner will come into picture only and only when you transfer your asset to your own spouse. Actually own also I want to clarify only for spouse, not for minor child, obviously own ही होगा. Okay, so any asset transferred to spouse or minor child for an inadequate consideration. Any asset transferred to spouse or minor child for an inadequate consideration. Have we studied tax rates? No. Every time I ask you this question, the answer is no. But we have still been given some rough idea about tax rates, and those who have that rough idea will now understand concepts better. The concept of slab rate, the concept of as my income will increase, my rate of tax will change. So supposingly, I have a property where I am earning rent. I have to pay tax on that rent. But is it possible that other than the rent, I have already crossed a 10 lakh ka profit? So because I have crossed a 10 lakh ka profit, the rent that I am earning is now getting taxed at a rate of 30% after 10 lakh. What I will do is transfer my property in the name of my wife, my minor child, not take any consideration from them, make them the legal owner. Doesn't matter whether wife or myself, does not make any difference. The rent will come in my household and I will be able to exploit slabs of other people in the family. But they are very, very specific. It is only spouse and minor child. No one transfers properties to siblings to save tax. Property chala jayega. No one transfers properties to parents, because even if you transfer to parents, siblings will ask for right legally. Grandparents nahi to uncle bhi hai. हाँ, तो obviously which are the safe transferees? Spouse and minor child. Transfer asset to spouse and minor child. Income will come in your house. We will exploit slabs. Income tax will not let you do that. You have transferred, but you will be considered as the owner. Example se samajhte. Supposingly there is a person, Mr. X, who owned a property. He did what? He transferred his property to Mrs. X. Matlab, the transferee is spouse, but you should note one more thing. The word used here is spouse and not wife. Matlab, how? Had it been the other way around, Mrs. X transferring to Mr. X, this point will still get triggered, because husband to wife or wife to husband, both the transactions are transferred to spouse. Or the transfer has been done to X1, who is a minor child of X and Mrs. X. अरे नाम देना यार, इसमें there nothing funny. Transfer to spouse or minor child, and this transaction was done for an inadequate consideration. Now, what is the relevance? See, you have understood the logic of why Mr. X, the transferor, is considered to be the deemed owner, though legally, एक बात बताओ, in whose name is the property now registered if the transfer has taken place? That means, can I say they have become the transferee has become the legal owner, but income tax is going to consider the transferor as the owner and tax the rental income in his hands. Q, because we know that you are trying to exploit slabs of your family members. So even if the rent goes in the account of Mrs. X or X1, tax will be payable by Mr. X. Ek minute. Why is inadequate consideration important? Because if I sell the property to my wife or minor child by taking the market price of the property from them, will I show capital gains on my property? Will I pay tax on my capital gains? Once I pay tax on my capital gains, I can sell the property to my wife, my neighbor's wife, to anybody's wife on the planet. Then income tax law cannot stop or prohibit me from doing a transfer because I am ready and willing to pay tax on capital gains. But here, what is the scam done by the taxpayer? Transferring it for an inadequate consideration. So you are not offering your capital gains to tax. You are not paying tax on capital gains. The property remains owned by your family member. The rent is coming in your house and you are exploiting the slabs of the transferee. We will not let that happen. आप समझा क्या? So inadequate consideration is important because the moment you take adequate consideration and you pay tax on capital gain, we don't want to apply deemed donor. ये clear हो जाए that supposingly I have sold the property at a proper price and paid tax on capital gains. तो deemed donor का concept not applicable. This person is the legal owner as well as income tax owner. So inadequate consideration का condition is very very important. Is your doubt this के सर ये तो क्लबिंग में कवर हो जाएगा या ऐसा कुछ? वो डाउट नहीं है. If it is something else, then I will take it. You have CAs at home? कोई भी नहीं है? First generation CA? You are on the correct track. Because how to avoid all this, the idea we only have to give. So transfer money from wife का bank account to your bank account. But अभी unfortunately problem क्या है पता है? कि wife does not have incomes, source नहीं है, कोई funds ही नहीं है उनके पास. Is the reason why you are exploiting that slab. Now just imagine the transferee already has some running income. तो उसका तो खुद का slabs है. So they don't have funds. So somewhere the funds have to come, not to show the sale transaction also. नहीं तो आप funds transfer कैसे करो? तो what are you doing? Transferring from that account to that account. Understood? You had some. So this point is not applicable. मतलब you can transfer property to major child, but income tax law का मानने से I am not saying this and I am not getting into personal family matters here. Income tax law believes that minor child is trustworthy, major is not. उसके नाम पे property किया, once you understand, okay, नहीं तो हे रामबो, you will go home and say कि मेरे नाम पे you have turned major. Just imagine family members transferring a property in your name. You will start staying in that property with someone. And once you are major, there is no control on that. If there is internal bond within the family, that trust is so much that even if you have turned major, you can actually transfer and exploit slabs. But point ये भी है ना कि if you turn major, is it not possible that you also will start having some source of income? And वैसे भी tax आएगा. So transferring in your name also is not going to help, no? So considering all these factors, they have decided to keep it like this. Oh, tax planning ना हम लोग after class बैठ के you have lots and lots of time. अगर दिन का 2 घंटा you stop watching reels, no, तो you will save so much time that you can plan taxes for anyone and everyone. Okay? तो हम लोग करेंगे उसको बैठ. माइनर के पास जो प्रॉपर्टी होगा नहीं, दादाजी has transferred to minor. First of all, that is not going to be a gift kind of transaction. दादाजी भी जिंदा में नहीं देंगे. दादाजी also has inheritance. Minor is earning person. ठीक है, एक मिनट. That is own income. First of all, वैसे clubbing of income का chapter we have not studied, but I told you orally that if income is earned by your own effort, then clubbing is not applicable. Then minor only will pay tax. With that money you have acquired property. सुनो, वो property का rent होगा ना, deemed owner is not applicable because it was not transferred by the parent. सुनना ध्यान से. Deemed owner का concept can come only if parent has transferred to minor. Minor purchasing with own money can't be a case of deemed owner. But जब उस property से rent आएगा ना, that rent will still be covered in clubbing because minor has talent to earn money and buy the property, but minor does not have the talent for which property to buy, whom to give it on rent, what price to give it on rent. These decisions will be taken by parent. So while जैसे minor ने singing से acting से money earn किया, उस पे clubbing नहीं लगेगा, but then the moment you earn rent from the property, You keep that money in a bank account and you earn interest on that. All that is going to be clubbed in the hands of parent only. मतलब वो clubbing of income के chapter में clear हो. But then again ये भी question है कि minor adequate consideration के लिए भी it's a big question that minor का हाँ but that is an exception. Not every minor child. Just imagine few months ago you were. कोई तो अभी भी है. तो what क्या incomes you have earned in life? It's a rare case where TV actor में कोई minor child है मतलब या movie में कोई minor child. Okay, done. You understand if there is adequate consideration तो deemed donor का concept. If there is adequate consideration तो deemed donor का concept not applicable. एक last condition. If the transferee is your spouse, मतलब inadequate consideration का condition is for spouse as well as minor child, both transferees. But only with respect to spouse, there is one more condition. Deemed owner will apply only and only if there is no agreement to live apart. English. Only and only if there is no agreement. This is written in the act. These are not words written by me. I will make them simple for you. Simple language में deemed owner will apply only and only if you are living together. मतलब you have transferred your property to your spouse for inadequate consideration. देखो the moment adequate consideration comes, this point is not applicable. मतलब inadequate is satisfied. But the transfer that you did to your spouse was under a separation arrangement. Alimony भी इसको सिर्फ don't openly declare your future plans here. Alimony में it was given. Now do you understand? This transfer obviously will be inadequate consideration. Come on. But have the husband and wife separated? मतलब the rent is not coming in the same house as transferor. So deemed owner will not apply. Deemed owner will apply only and only if you are living together. No agreement to live apart. मतलब inadequate consideration applicable for both. But in case of spouse, only if you all are living together. If you have given your property to your spouse under a separation arrangement, it is not done for tax evasion. It is only done for peace of mind. And consequently, deemed owner ka concept is not going to be applicable. So in case of minor child, only one condition. Which condition? Inadequate consideration. But in case of transferee being spouse, two conditions. Inadequate consideration and living together. No agreement to live apart is legal term. Simple language mein living together. So rent coming in the same house, and therefore transferor will be considered as the owner. And in this case, the transferor will be paying tax on the rent received, even if the rent is going in the bank account of the transferee. Samjha? Everyone? How many cases like this we have for deemed owner? 5. 4 more cases. Then we will go to the third condition. Short break of 10 minutes and then we continue. Okay, welcome back after the break. Let's go ahead. Break is a thing. Shh. बस वो चालू रखो. It's okay. But sound नहीं. I have to bring you back mentally also. Point number 2 of what? Deemed owner. So we are doing second head of income in income tax, but first head in class for the sake of developing the skills of heads of income. Income from house property, charging section 22. Condition 1 to tax and income under house property, building. Condition 2, owner. Owner will include deemed owner. Case 1, asset transferred to your spouse or minor child for inadequate consideration. Correct hai? And in case of spouse, you all are living together. So the transferor will be considered as deemed owner. Condition 2, house building scheme. ऐसे ही unnecessary, complicated heading they have given. The concept The concept is very easy. We are talking about a cooperative society. You should know this, that wherever there is society, housing society system of buildings, so there is going to be a society building, there is going to be a society compound, this land as well as building. Do you understand? The society is the legal owner. So if you ever have this question that my pet I am taking in which lift, yeah, what time should be the common areas of the society open, I am the one who will decide. Just let me give you the bad news. You don't have the right to decide that, because the society ka land, the society ka building, the society ka common areas belong to the cooperative housing society. You get ownership in one of these units because you have paid for that particular unit. Correct hai? You will give on rent also one of those units. But first case, first clarity, first condition, first point is that who is the owner of this entire structure? Society. Who will take decisions about the common areas? Society. Do you know this? That if I want to sell this property also, I will have to take NOC from the housing society. Because in case you are under misconception that hey, nahi sir, ye to mera, it is not your house. The entire structure belongs to the society. Therefore, for sale also society ka NOC is required. Without, in fact, society NOC, bank loan only will not get clear. General knowledge. Okay. So, can I still give on rent this one unit that belongs to me? Kyun, sir? You just told us that the land, the building entirely belongs to the society. Then, how are you the owner? Ye question. So, do you know this? That supposingly there is a person, Mr. X, who has purchased this property. How can you be called an owner of this property? You will have to go and acquire shares of the society. Society, unlike companies where shares are in digital demat form, society share certificates even today are in hard copy form. So whenever you buy any property, the first thing that you make sure is that in that housing society, that shared certificate, you get it transferred in your own name. That's the proof that while the society owns the entire structure, the society owns the land, the society owns the common areas, this one particular unit belongs to me. So even if the entire building is legally owned by Mr. X, will be considered as deemed owner with respect to this one, we call it unit. With respect to this one. Samjha? And common sense, no? If I give my house here on rent, so kya society will pay tax on that rent because society is the owner? No, society is the owner of the entire building. But for this one particular unit, I will be considered as deemed owner. Clear hua? Everyone? So case 2, when you buy shared certificates in a cooperative society, with respect to that unit, jiska shared certificate you have purchased, you will be considered as the owner, even if society is the owner of the entire structure. Deemed owner. Rent will obviously be taxable in this case for Mr. X. Case 3. Of what? Deemed owner. Deemed owner. Holder of an impartible estate. Holder of an impartible estate. Ever heard this term before? Impartible estate. Supposingly there is a superstructure. Ground, first floor and second floor. There are 3 brothers, X, Y and Z, who are the owners, the legal owners of this property. The only way in which they can divide the property legally is sell the property and divide the money, because there is no other way. In municipal records, it is one property, it is not three properties. It is one piece of land, and on that land, one structure is erected. But because they have good relations with each other, they have mutually decided that ground floor will belong to X, first floor will belong to Y, second floor will belong to Z. That they have mutually decided. Story में twist ये है that Y and Z are not living in India, they have gone abroad. They say, brother X, we have full trust on your abilities. Do whatever you want to with the entire structure. Give it on rent, maintain the structure. Any expenditure has to be done for repair, maintenance, use that rent money. We are least interested. But just remember one thing, that day when you sell, you can't sell without our approval. And when you sell, you will divide the money with us. While legally, X, Y and Z, all three are, do you understand, the legal owners here? But the two brothers have handed over the entire control of the property to this one brother, to give it on rent, to maintain the property, to do the repairs, to decide which tenant to keep, to decide which tenant to throw out. Everything has been given in the control of X, because Y and Z, despite being legal owners, are not able to keep a day-to-day track of what is happening with the property, and therefore for income tax purposes we will consider this party as the deemed owner. And this is necessary also. Understand why. The rental money from tenants is being collected by X. If by chance tax is not paid, we can recover that from the rent that you have, that is in the possession of X only. All decisions with respect to the property are being taken by X. So there is a concept in accounting called substance over form. While legally all three have their names in the property records, but for all practical purposes, decisions are being taken by X, and consequently X will be considered as the deemed owner here. Clear हुआ? So who is going to pay tax on the rental income here? X. समझा? Third case of deemed owner. Fourth case of deemed owner. This is section 53A of, in India there is a law called Transfer of Property Act. मतलब ये section 53A is not of Income Tax Act, it is another law, Transfer of Property Act. We are borrowing this condition from that other law, Transfer of Property Act. There is a person, Mr. X, who is legal owner of a property, but he wants to sell his property. Process hai, of course, I'll tell the brokers, broker will bring some clients, we will have meetings, we'll discuss, negotiate. Finally, it is decided that Mr. Y is going to be my prospective buyer. So how does a property ka deal take place? X becomes the seller, Y becomes the buyer. Between them, they will have to do one, an agreement in writing. There cannot be sale of property without an agreement, and transfer of property says that the agreement cannot be verbal, the agreement cannot be oral, the agreement has to be in writing. Once you do an agreement, now both parties have some responsibilities. Any guesses? Responsibility on the buyer? Make payment. The buyer has made full payment, or it is also possible that you have made part payment. Property market mein it is called token, part payment, and mutually we will decide a time within which the balance will be paid. Any guesses? Duty on the seller? Transfer matlab hand over the possession. Matlab buyer has made payment, seller has handed over the possession. They have done the agreement in writing. There is one thing still pending to close the deal. One last thing is remaining. वो कैसे होगा? Possession is given. What is remaining? Certificate. कौन सा certificate? नहीं. Okay, wait. I'll tell you. The registration of the property is still pending. See, supposingly you and me decide to do a property deal. You are the buyer, I am the seller. You pay me money. I give you the keys. We do the agreement. But this agreement we have to take to the local registrar office and get the property registered in your name, the buyer. Then only it will be considered that the deal is closed. That is still not done. We have to take an appointment. You have to be free. I have to be free. One day we will go and do the registration. Meanwhile, I am giving you the keys. Start your interior work. Start whatever you want to do. We will very soon do the registration. Transfer of property access. This is not a condition given in income tax law. Transfer of property access, that once these three conditions are fulfilled. Which three conditions? Agreement in writing, full payment or part payment, and possession is handed over. It will be considered that all the risks and rewards of the property have been transferred. Even if on paper we have still not registered Y as the owner. On paper, who is still the legal owner? Mr. X. But as per Transfer of Property Act, and income tax is only borrowing it from there, Mr. Y will be deemed to be the owner here. Mr. Y will be deemed to be the owner. Sir, what do you mean by this line? All the risks and rewards have been transferred. Is the registration still pending? Matlab on paper, in whose name is the property registered? But if in the in-between period there is any rent arising from the property, Y will get it. Because as per Transfer of Property Act, all rewards are transferred. If by chance there is an earthquake or fire and the property gets destroyed, it is a loss for Y because all risks are transferred. There is only one formality which is pending. Registration is considered as a formality. Once you have made payment and you have received possession, possession is a very, very important aspect in property ownership. You are considered as the owner. And income tax is only borrowing this from Transfer of Property Act. Matlab on paper, who is the registered owner? X. But we will consider Y as the owner. The whatever rent comes during this period, it will be taxable for. It will be received also by Y. It will be taxable also for Y. नहीं, ₹1 दिया तो भी पार्ट पेमेंट हो जाता है. But then, however it may sound, ₹1 कोई देता नहीं है किसी को. मतलब चाहिए तो मैं देता हूं आपको, आपका प्रॉपर्टी दे रहे हो तो टोकन ले लो. सी बोलने के लिए you can bring up a condition like no one gives ₹1 as token to. The seller will not take. Seller बोलेगा तू रख, बाद में दे ले. I hope you understand. Okay, clear है? चल तो ladies and gentlemen, that was the fourth case of, come on, deemed owner, where legally the property is in the name of someone else, but the transferee will be deemed to be the owner. And this brings us to the last case of deemed owner. Supposingly X is the legal owner of a property and X has given this property to Y on lease. Lease matlab rent. So who do you think is the owner for the purpose of levying income tax on the rent? Obviously X. But if the lease period is 12 years or more, कोई है क्या इधर अंदर? कभी आए? Can you? I don't know what sound is coming from there. And whom is she talking to? Normal rental agreements are done for 11 months. 11 months का rent, 1 month का deposit. Supposingly the property does not have any furniture and the tenant has to spend some money. So there are some tenants who will insist for a little longer period, maybe 3 years or something, so that I can recover the interior cost that I will incur as average rent. If a bank has to set up a branch, the bank will take your property for a minimum period of 10 years, because bank ka, you have to decide the IFSC, you have to put that branch ka records in all the systems, you have to put those lockers over there, you have to have people with accounts. Account numbers are, account number ka first 4 digit is basically the branch code. So ये सब set करने में they will lose a couple of years. Then they will start getting business in the form of account holders. Bank will take your property for minimum period of 10 years. But that is the maximum possible rental period for all practical purposes. Which is why when you have given your property on rent to someone for 12 years, income tax believes that the real owner, bro, you are out of this property for your life. Because 12 years is huge. You Google a few things. So Bandra mein some of the Bollywood celebrities ka bungalows. The bungalow is owned by them, but the land is taken on lease for 99 years. A lease period is such a big that the real owner during his lifetime may never be able to get the asset back. In fact, I don't know whether you are aware. Ye khali explaining the logic of this. If someone gets life imprisonment in India, but good behavior hota hai, to 14 years ke baad mein they leave. 14 years is too much. Just imagine, where were you 14 years ago? Were you even? You were as good as not. And where you will be 14 years from today. What was your life 14 years ago? Maths ka homework kar. 4 साल के थे. अच्छा, मैथ्स का भी होमवर्क. एक मोटा हाथी. That is what you were doing. You can't distracted bunch of people or the smallest of things you get distracted. Suno, you all are the only people who will be having trouble, because I have been told that a lot of you all want to attend the evening lecture from tomorrow onwards. College ka exam and all that. So don't you think it should be a case where you are a little ahead, so that evening batch thoda behind bhi hai, so you can come and cover up your syllabus over there. That being slightly smaller than you guys, things are happening faster over there. So tum waste bare minimum time, because if you waste time, so you will only suffer. आप भी करो discussion, करो talk to each other, करो. Suno, and what will your life be 14 years from today? It's a matter of 4 years you will be qualified chartered accountants. 14 years from today you will be someone with experience of 10 years post qualification. Every person you meet will be like, sir, ma'am, please do my work, pay you and touch your feet. मजाक नहीं कर रहा हूं. So this is a very, very big period. You are out of it, bro. When you give your property to lease, on lease to someone for a period of 12 years or more, the tenant will be considered as the owner. The actual owner will not even get a chance to do anything about the property. So for all practical purposes, income tax is assuming that the tenant is the owner, deemed to be the owner, only when the lease period is 12 years or more. Aapka normal 11 months ka or 3 years ka lease is not going to be covered. But when the lease period is so big, it will be considered as deemed owner. Tenant will be considered as deemed owner. X को तो आ ही रहा है. तो see, owner can be legal or deemed, no? दोनों है ना? Correct? हाँ, that will also be considered as income from house property. Everyone is clear? Abhi, what should we do? We will write and we will write C. And suno, at the end of C, we will be done with 1. Sir, नहीं, उसके बाद we have point number 2, 3, 4, 5 also. देखो, 1 is condition. Condition में A, B, C है. B में 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So then C, then this. Sir, yaar. Sir is not writing income tax act. तो जो है वो है. Condition C. हाँ. नहीं. Because there is no transfer of property act covers these 3 conditions. So in those cases, you try to register the property in your name ASAP, because deceased person के name पे property kept for a very long period is dangerous. You never know, there will be other people who will start coming and claiming ownership over them. So the earlier you transfer, the better it is. Okay. Third case, third condition, 1 minute. When will an income be taxable under income from house property? Condition 1, building. Condition 2, owner. And condition 3, the assessee who is receiving the rent. I hope you understand. The assessee here is receiving rent on a building, and this assessee is the owner, legal or deemed. The assessee is not using the building for own business or profession. वैसे तो PGBP में again and again we will write this short form B or P, but first time के लिए business or profession. Assessee not using the building for business or profession. Means if you are doing your own business in this building, क्या बोल रहा है bro? If you are doing your own business in this building, so the rent that you receive will not come under house property. Confusion है. देखो, supposingly this is that unit in the building. Okay, is this building full or part? This classroom of ours, is this building full or part, both covered? Assuming you are the owner. So second condition also fulfilled. Third condition says that the rent that you receive from here will not be house property if you are doing business here. Matlab, you should not do business, then only it will be house property. When I first time saw this condition, क्या बोल रहा है? If I am doing business, that means I am myself using the property. So where is rent? And if there is rent, so obviously I have handed it over to someone. So वैसे भी I am not using it for any purpose, no, because tenant is using it. So the fact that I am getting rent automatically means that I am not using the property for my business. Or is it possible that I am getting rent also and I am using for business also? If it is possible, then this condition is relevant. Is it possible? I am using for business, still getting rent. ऐसे कैसे? नहीं, that means you are paying to yourself. Shirt account debit to trouser account. नहीं. You are saying मेरी जगह and I am paying rent to myself, तो वही हुआ ना? नहीं, नहीं. Again, they are two different people.
You and yourself and the HF is conducting business here and HF paying rent.
So I am not doing business. I am different from HF. That is what I am making you understand. If firm is doing business and firm is paying me, I am not doing business. I am a separate assessee. So you can't say I am doing business.
To be part of that.
Let out of idle capacity. मतलब सुनो, I am a doctor. I have my own clinic. Building है, I am the owner. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I check patients in that clinic. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, I work in a hospital. So the clinic is locked. Give it to another doctor. So I am cardiologist here, general physician. Use my clinic for those 3 days and pay me rent for those 3 days. Now, suno, is there a building? Am I the owner? I am getting rent, but that same place I am also using for my business. So this physician giving me rent will not be house property. Example क्या है? Doctor का clinic. It won't be house property. Of course, oh anxious souls. Sir, तो ये rent which the doctor is getting, where will it go? So no, it is not salary, it is not capital gains. It is not house property because I am also using it for my business. तो बचा क्या? PGBP and other sources. Now listen, this other guy who I am giving it on rent, the general physician, his patients also come. Abhi premises is mine. So on the walls I will put my certificates and my achievements. So by chance some of his patients, being the general physician, get converted into my patients. That is bringing me business. तो you can take that rent as PGBP. And supposingly it is some unrelated person only. He is not a doctor. He is an equity market consultant. What do they want? One reception area and one cabin. Structure is almost same. He is using it. Abhi equity analyst using my property is not going to get me business. एकदम weird मत सोचना नहीं. Equity analyst मतलब cardiac issues तो cardiologist. Whoever goes to equity markets, वो at one point of time in life you need a cardiologist. Equity market ही वैसा, but ये थोड़ा ज्यादा नहीं होगा. तो bro, if that is not related to my activity, I can put it under other sources. देखो, wherever I put tax, I have to pay. But it won't be income from house property. Right now, our only concern is it won't be income from house property. Where will it go? Honestly, it is none of our business right now. And what is the case? Understood the case where I am using still getting rent? Let out of idle capacity. Clear हुआ? Whatever, no? You can be using the entire, you can be giving only, you have a big corporate office. So one cabin you are giving to someone on rent. Building hai, you are the owner. But are you using the premises for your own business? You are, because rest of the office you are. So the rent that you are getting for that one cabin will not be house property. Where will it go? वो cabin का user is generating business for you. So PGBP, unrelated independent party है तो IFOS. But as I said, that's not our concern right now. Right now, we conclude that it is not. अरे बोल, it is not. हाँ, income from house property. हाँ, because it is one premises. Please understand. अगर यही बाजू बाजू का two separate offices है, तो then it's a separate unit. It's recorded separately in municipal records. Correct है? Then in that case, it will be income from house property because I am not using that. वो अलग property हो गया. It's only a part of the same structure, but it's a separate unit altogether. Even if it is a jodi or a duplex or anything, duplex बोलते हैं ना आप, वही. Even if it is, it's a separate unit in municipal records, तो फिर वो house property में जाए. Clear है, everyone? हाँ. तो after today, every time you are asked, you will have to participate. क्या? We are doing a chapter called income from house property. Charging section 22. 3 conditions will trigger income from house property. Condition 1, building. Condition 2, owner. Condition 3, I'll summarize it for you because when we revise, you will have to speak. Not doing business. Building, owner, not doing business. इतना ही बोलना है. So that it will serve as a revision of whatever we have studied. What are the 3 conditions to tax an income under income from house property? Building, owner, not doing business. If you fulfill the 3 conditions, then the rent that you earn from this property will be considered as income from house property. ये clear है? That's only the first point of house property का introduction is going on. Introduction में first point is condition and conditions में we had 3 things. Now in this introduction, we will go to the second point. Sir, सुनो, the smallest of heads of income, उसका introduction का size is this. Small head का introduction है, bigger head का introduction छोड़ दो. Okay. Second point. What is going to be the income that you receive from this asset? What will be the income received? If you are giving your property to someone for usage, so income will be coming in what? Income will be coming in what form? Rent ही होगा ना. If somebody is using your property, तो क्या dividend देगा क्या? So what were you thinking about? If I am asking what income will come if you let out the property, the rent. Because अभी एक shock bomb आए. So stay away from your distraction and focus. Income tax will not be applicable on the rent that you have received. हाँ. Supposingly आपका property, वंश ना. What is the annual rent that you are earning in your property? Example लेना है. देख बेटा, example में अमीर बनना चाहिए. 45 lakhs. ठीक है. 45 लाख. Is that the income that you have received? पीछे से कोई per month बोला. Good. 45 lakh. Is that the income that you have received? 45 lakh is your. आपने खुद नहीं तो बोला how much rent you are getting? Is see, expenditure will be separately adjusted, will be subtracted. Keep that aside. We are just talking about what you have received. If you receive 45 lakh, what should be your taxable income? क्या common stupid question I'm asking. If you receive 45 lakh, your taxable income should be 45 lakh. Supposingly, CA बनके you join a big company job में you're getting a salary of 50 lakh rupees. So what should be the amount that you pay tax on? Amount bank में interest मिला 2 lakhs, so you pay tax on 2 lakh, and dividend मिला 1 lakh, so you pay tax on 1 lakh. Normally we pay tax on what we receive. Now look at what this chapter says. The income that you will pay tax on is not that amount which you have received. The income that will be taxable is an amount called the annual value of the property. मतलब the rent that you are getting is not taxable. जो amount मिल रहा है that is not taxable. Tax has to be paid on annual value. So complicated legal term. First query is, sir, what is annual value? Annual value का simple meaning is the capacity of the property to generate rent. The capacity of the property to generate rent. You will not pay tax on the actual rent received. You will pay tax on the property का capacity to generate rent. मतलब you don't pay tax on what you are receiving. You're paying tax on some other amount. What is that other amount का legal name? Annual value. Simple meaning, capacity of the property. Sir, logic क्या है? Because my common sense says whatever I get is my income. Long story लेके if I explain, I can take 10 minutes and explain, but I can explain this in one line also. Explanations depend from audience to audience on the basis of what audience likes. एक line में बोल सकता हूँ. Wherever there is property involved, there will be cash involved. Could have given you a very long example, but you all are intelligent enough to understand in one line every time there is a property deal taking place, whether a sale deal or a rental deal, the two parties which sit across a table and negotiate the terms of the deal, one of the points which always comes on the negotiation table is cash ketla. How much cash out of the total amount? Some of my friends call it full white, full. These are terms used by people. It's basically a combo of cash and check. For 1 second, skip house property. Let's go to capital gains. Capital gain will be sale of property. There also we have a similar rule, because there also cash will be involved. And here it's a rental deal. Here also cash is involved. So it is possible that your property ka rent annually was not 45 lakhs, it was 85 lakhs. But why do we have only 45 lakhs on record? Because the remaining 40 lakh was received in. If we strictly go by actual income received wala rule, then you will offer to tax only 45. So we will actually go and check what is the market rental value of your property. Actual rent is 45. Market rent is 85. We will not take tax on 45. We will take tax on 85. That's annual value. Let me take 30 more seconds and discuss capital gain. Same thing will happen in capital gain on sale of property ka profit. You sell your property for 5 crores. Check amount is 5 crore. But market price of the property is 7 crores. So capital gain will come on 7 crore, the market price, because property is one place where there will always be cash involved. If there is land involved, there will be cash involved. Reason, no, so many developers of our city today have decided not to take a single rupee of cash from anyone. They sell their property only through banking channels, full white, as they say, that this developer, any reputed developer today is not taking cash. Ye false information. If you sell good relations with the developer, you can't discuss this with the sales team. You have to talk to the developer directly. क्योंकि developer is making a project में he has to make multiple things. He wants to make parking area at a place which is supposed to be kept open. He wants to have violations compared to the plan passed by municipal corporation. And for every signature on every file, you have to put some weight. So developer needs cash to meet those expenses. Oh, check में नहीं देगा. Bribe account, debit to bank account. It is always to cash account. So that much cash they will take from their known parties. This is not true that all property transactions are the so-called full white. Cash will always be involved. So rental wale chapter mein and capital gain chapter, both chapters, we will not take tax on the actual amount. We will take tax on the market price. Capital gain ka discussion we will not do. We will focus only on rental. What was the actual rent? Bol bunch. What was 45 lakhs? What is market rent of your property? Example mein we took it. 85 lakh. You will pay tax on not the actual rent, but you will pay tax on annual value. Wait. अगर ऐसा होता that 85 is taxable income, so I would have said market rent. I am not saying market rent because income tax law is very smart. Supposingly, it was the other way around. Market rent is 45, but you get some stupid tenant, some NRI who has got no idea about the rates here and is paying you 85. Abhi actual rent is how much? Actual is 85 ho gaya na? Market rent is 45. They are not taking tax on market rent. Guess karna hai which amount will now be taxable. So annual value is not market rent. So no, annual value is actual rent or market rent. And same thing will happen in capital gain also. Actual selling price or market price, whichever is higher. You understood? Wherever land is involved, cash will be involved. आएगा ना. अभी ये चैप्टर है. इस चैप्टर में we will do calculation of house property. सुनो, calculation of house property जब start होगा तो first point is annual value, because annual value is income. Against the income there will be some expenses also. Income tax का principle is always tax the net amount. तो gross receipts can't be taxed. जैसे sales के सामने purchase होता है तो profit is taxable, no? So the first step of house property calculation is determination of annual value. There are 7 steps in that calculation. तो हर एक step का amount will be decided by someone else. So step by step at that time when I do calculation of annual value, उस time पे you will come to know. अभी we are not in the calculation, we are in the conceptual part. पहले concept clear करो. In case you are too anxious to know, municipal corporation decide करती है. कैसे decide करती है? Let's wait for the calculation. Okay. Everyone is with me? मतलब what will you earn? Come on. Rent. But what will you pay tax on? Annual value. What is annual value? Market rent? नहीं. Actual rent or market rent, whichever is higher, that is the capacity of the property to generate rent. समझा? Second point. But this second point, अच्छा, why is this relevant? Second point, I think you have understood. In one line, wherever there is land involved, cash will be involved. Correct है? Third, second point has created a problem, and the problem created by the second point will actually create the need for the third point. Properties that you have will be classified in 3 categories. The whole problem is because of the second point. Everyone has understood the second point? Somewhere in the third point we'll come back and discuss. Okay. First property will be called self-occupied property, and very popular and accepted short form in exam, SOP. You have my permission. वैसे आप लोग को कोई भी काम करने के लिए किसी का भी परमिशन रिक्वायर्ड नहीं, but you have my permission. As far as income tax का exam paper is concerned, you can write SOP peacefully without any loss of marks. It is not compulsory to write full self-occupied property. SOP. As the name indicates, so no, the name itself is self-explanatory. Self-occupied property means the property was used for your own purposes, used by yourself. The important word here is throughout the year. Throughout the year. मतलब full year the property was occupied by yourself. Now think about it. You have your own house in which you are living. Full year you are staying in that house, not giving on rent to anybody. So what is your actual rent? What is your actual rent? Zero. Zero hai. The house in which you are living, is your actual rent zero? Does that house have capacity to generate rent? And what is taxable income? Actual rent or market rent, whichever is higher. मतलब क्या बोल रहा है income tax law? I have to pay tax on the market rent of the house in which I am living. It will become nonsense. एक minute. So for that, should we cancel the previous point? No, that is not possible. Otherwise, वो cash वाला people will take benefit. But we can give you one benefit here. If your property was not given on rent throughout the year, you used it, not even one day, so there is a tax benefit, and the tax benefit is that the annual value of this property. What is the significance of annual value in this chapter? वो ही taxable income. This amount equal to taxable income, no? Intelligent people guess कर. They cannot expect you to pay tax on the market rent of the property in which you are living. Your own house का market rent is taxable income. Nonsense हो जाएगा. Are you following? So annual value is going to be zero. After today, multiple times I may ask you, what is tax benefit on SOP? Annual value equal to zero. And when we say annual value equal to zero, it means taxable income equal to zero. Correct hai? But then there is a second category called let out property. Again, as the name indicates, the name is very self-explanatory. This is a property that you have obviously given on rent. करेक्ट है? देखो, self occupied में you are living, let out you have given on rent. These are words that you can understand by yourself. If it is only this simple, then you probably don't need anyone to teach you all this. At least some value addition the teacher should also do. So the most important thing is this. Because a property can be classified as SOP only and only on this one word. Which word? Throughout the year. So if you give your property on rent even for one day during the year, then that property will be classified into let out property. Of course, there is a third category, but uska discussion later. First, be very clear about the first two categories. Properties that you own will be divided into two categories: self-occupied and let out, SOP and LOP. If you give on rent for one day, it will be considered as let out property. 6 months you stay, 6 months given on rent, let out property. 1 day also given on rent, LOP. So LOP mein to we will have to do the calculation actual rent or market rent, whichever is higher. But SOP mein actual rent will be 0 because full year you have used it. But will there be market rent? We won't take it because SOP mein we want to give you tax benefits. So SOP, LOP as concepts are easy. Are you clear? Oh, good morning. Are you clear? तो good morning नहीं बोल सकता हूँ. Are you following? क्योंकि क्या है ये SOP, LOP, all this must have come in your TY. Graduate है ना? हाँ, तो आया होगा ना SOP, LOP? नहीं, याद कुछ नहीं. Do not speak anything about the third category, even if you know that, because we do CA inter ka class on the assumption that no one knows anything. So the undergraduates obviously are learning this chapter for the first time, and the graduates who have learned also don't remember anything. So we are all at par that way. So there is a third category. Please don't speak anything about this because you may probably know the name. I want students to guess the name by yourself. I will only give explanation of logic. I want you to declare the name by yourself. House property is a separate chapter because of concentration of wealth in the hands of few people. There is one person who has enough money to buy 10 houses, and there is another person, poor guy, does not have money to buy even one house, sleeping on footpath, and film stars come and kill. So how to save yourself? Take on rent property from that person who has 10 properties, because the person who has 10 properties at one time can stay only in one property. Obviously, the other properties were acquired by this guy as investment. And anybody giving his extra properties on rent, government is very happy. Q, three-party benefit. You as the owner will earn rent. Tenant does not have to sleep on footpath, risk from film stars, will get a property to live. And government is also happy. Bolo why? They will get tax. But there are some idiots in our country who invest in properties and keep them locked. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to give on rent also. I don't want to sell also. That is artificial hoarding of properties. This is why that bubble in the property market. Those who want to buy don't have good properties at good prices. Those who want to sell are unable to sell because artificial inflation of prices. Because you are buying properties and keeping them locked. All the three people now will suffer problems, losses. How? Seller is obviously suffering loss because he is not earning any rent. But that's your decision. Suffer the loss. But tenants are also suffering losses because they are not getting enough properties at good prices. You are keeping property locked, and government is also suffering loss because they are not getting tax. If you will not get rent, we will not get tax. Government is not liking the fact that people are keeping their properties locked. So traditionally, the rule in income tax, historically, the rule in income tax was that under self-occupied property, we will allow you to take maximum one house. Don't write this, it had changed some years ago. Don't write this. Wait. Don't write this, please. One house ka rule has changed. I am explaining the logic. I will explain the change also. Historically, the rule was only one house will be considered as SOP. Matlab, if you have 10 houses, first of all, we motivate you, please give them on rent. Supposingly 10 mein se 4 you have given on rent. One day or full year, those 4 properties will come here. Remove those 4 properties from the discussion. You are left with 6. They are locked properties. You are using them for yourself, not giving on rent even for one day. So going by what is taught to us, SOP ka annual value should be nil. That means you can take the tax benefit, but we will allow you to take that only and only with respect to 1. Guess karo, out of 6, which property ka we should take 0? Common sense hai. Whichever has the highest market rental, uska we should take 0. The remaining 5 properties, even if you have not given on rent, we will consider them as deemed. Now please, can you tell me the full name? Deemed to be let out property. Even if you have not given that property on rent, we will assume that you have given that property on rent. And this is, ladies and gentlemen, the third name, DLOP. I will explain more about this, but wait. First, let me tell you what changed in the definition of SOP. Traditionally and historically, taxpayers were allowed to take only and only one house under. So no, this is also a reason why people were transferring their houses to their spouses. I have one SOP. My second house is becoming DLOP. DLOP means without receiving rent, I still have to pay tax because government wants to discourage keeping locked properties. So what to do? Transfer the property to spouse so that both of us will be able to take the benefit of SOP on one house. I will be the deemed owner. Matlab both houses will be considered mine. Only one will be treated as SOP. The other will be deemed to be let out. Deemed to be let out ka meaning is what? Whether you give on rent or you don't give on rent, we will take tax. And एक बात समझो that actual rent is zero. So market rent only will become annual value. Do you understand? So traditionally only one house ka annual value was allowed to be zero. But came the budget of 2019. 2019 ka budget was a lollipop budget. Lollipop budget means it was an election year and they wanted to get re-elected. So it was instructed to the finance minister that do anything which is taxpayer friendly so that they vote for us again. And in the budget of 2019, it was interim budget by Piyush Goyal sir. Piyush Goyal sir, AIR 2 in CA final exam. You should know this. Piyush Goyal sir did a typical Anuradha Ek ka double year. Piyush Goyal sir in 2019 का budget said आज से 2 houses का annual value zero. मतलब come back to the original example. 10 houses, 4 given on rent, out of discussion. They will be let out property 1 day or full year. How many remaining? Earlier 1 SOP, so 5 का market rent taxable, but now 2 SOPs. Obviously the highest 2 we will make 0 and remaining 4 will be deemed to be let out property. So SOP में we will be able to put maximum 2 houses. Correct है? After 2 houses, whatever is left, whether you give on rent or you don't give on rent, the property will be deemed to be let out property. Matlab, how should you approach this? First step, check the total number of properties. Second step, out of the total number of property, how many properties given on rent, 1 day or full year? Declare them as LOP, remove them from the discussion. Now you are left with the remaining properties which are unused, kept locked, or you are yourself staying in that. 2 out of them ka annual value you make 0. Which 2 you will make? Highest 2. And the remaining, jitna bhi hai, the remaining will be deemed to be let out property. Actual rent or market rent, whichever is higher. Here there is no actual rent, so market rent will become your annual value. In short, ladies and gentlemen, stop this habit of keeping locked houses. 2 houses you can. You know, 1 house you have in Mumbai, 1 house you have in your native place, no problem. If you have your 3rd house, give it on rent. But then use tax planning strategy here. You have 2 houses in Mumbai, 1 in your native place. So Mumbai ka 2 houses you take as SOP, no, because you can take any 2. Are you following? क्योंकि native place का, village का, house का capacity, annual value is, in any case, market rent is going to be. So by chance you have to pay tax also on DLOP, pay on that value. Clear है? ये theoretically. Practically, your native place ka house which was purchased 20, 30, 40 years ago, maybe by grandparents or parents, at that time they did not give. आपको पता है क्या? Those old agreements, actually I have seen agreements written in pen and paper. Seller and buyer both have signed. Not even a typed agreement. So no PAN card or Aadhaar card etc. was submitted. Income tax ke records mein they don't even know that you also have a house in your native place. They don't even know. Today you buy a new property, registrar ko you will have to give PAN and Aadhaar ka copy and digital transactions, digital records will be kept. Income tax department will get a real-time notification of purchase of property. But what you have already purchased, there is no record of that. You be mentally ready at any point of time. You can see a government announcement. Whatever properties you have, link it with your PAN and Aadhaar. Any property which is not linked, government will take it up. Then the people who have so many properties will have to come forward and declare them. Gold पे भी हो सकता है. You never know, because these are the places where people have hidden their undeclared income. Okay. So having said that, ये चीज clear है. Any number of houses you have, 2 को you can take as SOP. After 2 it will be deemed to be let out property. ये clear हुआ everyone?
Sir, for you to declare it as SOP, you have to limit that house.
No, even if that house is locked. So point is that LOP में even if one day you give on rent, it will become LOP. All the remaining houses, live or locked, SOP. But you can take only 2. समझा?
Sir, for the business purpose, as a means of accommodation, if I have houses in different places in the country, so I pay rent on places where I don't even stay. Like 1 month के लिए I'll go there. Once the transaction is completed, I'll come back. So for the same thing, I'll pay rent.
हाँ
And
तो
tax on it as well.
क्या बोल रहा है बेटा, समझ में आता है तेरे को? You are paying rent के getting rent. What are you doing?
So I'm getting that. वो property को
Are you the owner of that property? तो आप rent किसको दे रहे हो?
no, sorry, government को tax to use.
तो you are not paying rent anywhere. No, 3-4 cities में खरीद के रखा है घर, ऐसा बोलना.
And उसमें मेरा SOP का limit exhaust हो गया to
So you have business activities in Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, Kolkata. All the 4 houses are owned by you. The one mistake which you made in your example, you said I am paying rent in those. You are not paying rent. You are owning those houses. 4 houses. 3 months सब जगह पे you go. अरे business purposes के लिए बाबा. हाँ. And you are not giving any of those house on rent even for 1 day. 2 ही SOP होगा. 2 they are giving, that also is a favor. Once upon a time it was only 1 house. एक बात बताओ, if you have funds to buy properties in 4 cities, you are well to do. तो government is expecting के यार तू तो अमीर है यार, थोड़ा हमको भी. 1 मिनट, ये क्लियर हो गया? पक्का? सुनो जोड़ी फ्लैट्स, ड्यूप्ले, if they are adjacent to each other, converted into one, they are, आगे आएगा in some other chapter of income tax, they are considered as one property. Even if 2 houses adjacent to, in fact, सुनो, even if you don't demolish the internal wall, 2 flats next to each other, purchased on different dates, from different people, different agreements, is there a possibility to convert it into one? Actual conversion is not required, it is one property. That is why we call them units in a property. That is why. हाँ, लेकिन सुन, संभव ऐसा है कि वो तभी हो पाएगा when these 2 properties are next to each other. अभी supposingly आपके फ्लोर पे 3 घर है, you purchase these 2, so it will be considered as one. But if you purchase this and this, तो ये मत बोलना सर अच्छा रिलेशन इनके साथ भी है, तो इनके घर से एक रास्ता आई विल मेक, बिकॉज आना जाना तो रोज रहता ही है. सेम थिंग, एडजेसेंट बोला ना, सो एडजेसेंट कैन बी नेक्स्ट टू ईच अदर और वन अबव द अदर. द रूल इज कैन दे बी कन्वर्टेड इनटू वन, तो दे आर वन. एक्चुअल कन्वर्जन इज नॉट, तो उसको वन ही काउंट करेंगे. सो लिसन, सपोजिंगली यू हैव अ जोड़ी फ्लैट इन मुंबई एंड अ जोड़ी फ्लैट इन दिल्ली. There are 2 houses, both are SOP. They are not 4. Clear है?
Well, does the number of properties by counting depend on the residence status of the other?
नहीं. So if you are a resident, we will count foreign properties also in 2 SOP. You can take any 2 as SOP. But we are assuming that foreign का market rent will be higher, so preferably take that as SOP. Clear है? And then India का property you take as LOP. बट ये assumption है, it is possible that foreign में it is some, foreign में village होती है, it is some village, and मुंबई में it is in some big city. possible है कि मुंबई का property का market rent is higher, तो choice is yours. एक second wait, supposingly you are a non-resident, so that foreign का property will not be considered anywhere, so then India का any 2 properties will be SOP. So if your question is does residential status affect which property to take or not? Of course it does. समझा? Resident हुआ तो total properties across the globe, any two SOP, and non-resident total properties in India, any two SOP. Is that clear? Now there are some developers who are also doing artificial hoarding of properties. They are constructing buildings but not selling the properties at correct prices. They have artificially inflated their prices, which is why what happens is people who genuinely want to stay in the properties are unable to stay. और maximum क्या होता है, when a builder comes up with a plan, every builder has got some selected 5-6 investors. They approach those investors and tell those investors, you buy 10 properties, you buy 15 properties. After a point, once the construction progresses, the value will appreciate. One by one, you start selling. The last में 2-3 properties will become free for you. Investors who are flooded with funds, they make the investment at the launch of the project, and as construction progresses, they sell one by one, थोड़ा higher price. Last में 1 flat, 2 flat become free for them. ये trend है, system market. So what are these guys doing? Regularly doing buying and selling of properties. That way it is an investor, but he is trying to make a claim, sir, this is my stock in trade. Buying 15 properties, waiting for price to go up, not doing anything, keeping the property locked. Because I'll tell you one thing, if that property you give on rent, no, तो उसका value will fall. A new buyer will want to come and stay in an untouched property, so he is keeping it locked. अब lock रखता है, what is the punishment for locked properties? After 2 DLOP. But these guys say that we will not be covered under DLOP. Why? क्योंकि सर ये तो stock in trade है, ये तो we will sell only when we get a proper price. You can't force me to sell my stock in trade. You can't force me to rent my stock in trade. I will keep it locked. After a point, government realized that investors are only giving a false information that this is our stock in trade. Why are they giving this? Why are they boldly claiming that this is our stock in trade? Because they are doing it very frequently. But ultimately, you and we understand that they are doing it in the form of an investment. So how to punish them? Government tried a few options and came to this option. They said, DLOP will apply. To hell with you, even to property held as stock in trade. भाड़ में जाओ. Once you buy a property, do not keep it locked. If you keep it locked, we will apply DLOP. But obviously, total picture में 2 SOPs. So after 2, it will be LOP. तो builder के project में there are 100 flats. 2 SOP. Can you believe this? The remaining 98 will be considered as DLOP. Soon, developer, what are your options? Option 1, locked properties, unsold properties, your stock in trade, still pay tax on market rent. You think that is unfair? Reduce your prices and sell them. Don't keep them locked. Don't artificially increase prices. That was the whole idea. You don't want to sell? Give them on rent. Earn rent and pay tax instead of paying tax without earning. But do not keep properties locked. ये clear है? So DLOP will now apply also to stock in trade, but we need to be a little fair to them also. When a builder will construct a new building, it is not possible that overnight everything can be sold, because abhi 100 is an example, so 98 flats can't be sold overnight. We need to give you some time. So we are giving you some time. We will not apply stock in trade ka DLOP instantly. Let me complete the full sentence that I will explain. After 2 years from the end of the financial year, after 2 years from the end of the financial year in which the CC, that is the completion certificate of this building, was received. After 2 years from the end of the financial year in which the CC, that is the completion certificate of this property, was received. Sir, matlab listen. Every project has to receive 3 permissions from local authority, municipal corporation. Permission 1, commencement, is when they can demolish the old structure and start work. Once the new building is ready, they receive something called CC, completion certificate. When, as per municipal corporation, the building ka construction is complete. It is a fit structure, but people are not allowed to live in that building. You will need an inspection from municipal corporation about fire safety, about plumbing, about electrical lines, about everything, and finally they will give a certificate called OC, that is occupation certificate. Legally, people are allowed to live only after receiving OC. Abhi to government has become very, very strict that builders don't give possession unless and until OC is received. Traditionally, historically, ऐसा होता था that buyers are continuously forcing to give jaldi possession. Builders receiving CC used to hand over possession. Once buyer has received the possession and started living, he does not bother only OC आया नहीं आया, society का land is registered in our name or no. There was a case in South Mumbai in an area called Worli. There is a housing society called Campa Cola, where people have stayed in that housing society for 30 years, and suddenly government told them that your land does not have OC, land belongs to us, vacate karo. Third generation, Tardev में भी क्या नाम है वो, Wellington, that building. Decades se people are living, but this is, somewhere our fault, that rush that we have to get our possession and not perfectly examining that the developer has given us land ka, it is called conveyance, matlab land has to be transferred in the name of society, but then practically this issue is everywhere. Legally speaking, people are allowed to live only after OC, but we are not talking about living. Here we are talking about building ka construction complete, and building ka construction is considered as complete if you receive CC. Matlab, listen developer, we will give you CC, then you start selling your project, and we are giving you 2 years to sell your project. Till that time we will not apply any DLOP on you. Let us take today's date as an example, 9th of October. Supposingly today a building receives CC from municipal corporation, so we are giving developer 2 years, not from today. The 2 years will be counted from 31st March 26, end of the year, plus 2 years. That means, can I say 31/3/28? Tak we are giving you time to sell your property. If by that date you don't sell your property, then 1st April 28 onwards DLOP will start. And supposingly property ka CC is received in first week of April, so you effectively almost get 3 years. आपको समझ में आता है next? Because April first week means that year plus 2 years, which is a good enough time for any developer to reduce prices, sell this project with the money received, start another project. Uska fir again CC will come, and then again we will give you 2 years. So for stock in trade also do we have DLOP, but we will not trigger that DLOP instantly and immediately. That DLOP will get activated or triggered only after 2 years from the end of the year of receiving completion certificate. By that date, if you don't transfer, then in the next financial year after 2 years, DLOP will start coming on your stock in trade also. Now, iska effect you will get to see practically. Start using tax ka rules in your practical life. Iska effect is, every time we are in the last 3 months of the financial year, Jan, Feb, March में कभी भी जाके practically observe कर, developers will announce schemes, offers, reduce prices, and try to get rid of those houses जिसका 2 years is near completion this March. So upcoming March supposingly is the end of 2 years. CC was received 2 years ago, so they will try to get rid of properties from here, because they also know in April if this property remains unsold, so without getting anything DLOP will start. So better to sell as early as possible. Give some scheme, say don't give, we will cover your stamp duty in this price, or discount we are giving, subvention scheme, we will get loans for you. All the offers will start as March comes closer. Ideal time to buy is the last 3 months of the financial year. You will always see a reduction in property price. No, practical. Theoretically, क्या stock in trade पे भी they are going to apply DLOP, but not instantly. Stock in trade का DLOP will start commence after 2 years from the end of the financial year in which completion certificate was received. जी. देखो वापस रीबाई करेगा तो वापस 2 प्रॉपर्टीज के बाद में 3rd प्रॉपर्टी मिल, बट सीसी का 2 years are over, तो now from day 1 DLOP will start. समझे? Okay. So I also appreciate the fact that you guys एक तो होता है theoretically learning tax, then practically where it is useful, and then how to manipulate, because we are chartered accountants. So you are skipping the steps in between, directly thinking about manipulation. Every time you think in that direction, I am very happy. But एक चीज है that there is another side to the coin also. So assessing officer के POV से भी examine the transaction, that what can be his ground to object to what I am doing. So you will come to know what is happening. समझा everyone? हाँ, तो ladies and gentlemen, just to let you know, this is still introduction of house property going on. ये introduction में, but we have 2 more points. After that, सुनो, वो किसको था how to calculate annual value? हाँ, that once we get done with the introduction, first step will be how to calculate annual value. Who is going to give us that annual value? Tomorrow's lecture is 7:30 only. 7:45 था ये week में एक दिन. कौन सा? चल छोड़ो. You also check the timetable. I will also check the timetable. कल आने ही नहीं वाले. ठीक है, इवनिंग में आओगे. जब भी आना है आओ, मैं आऊंगा. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye. Take care.